Hey, Rick, we had Jenny Carrington on. Phenomenal agent. I mean, she's not only an agent, though, she's also an office manager, which was kind of nice to have. I think she might have been our first one, maybe. I know probably have one or two more, but she went into how she works with Highgarden, how she gets her people, and I thought that was phenomenal myself.
Yeah, and how she got going in the business, because she wasn't from Indianapolis. Now, she lived around the area, but she had just moved here, hadn't been here that long. She was able to get going, how she got going. And being a manager, she also knows, she talks about those things that can really help a client, but also can help a new agent or, any agent that just, wants some additional knowledge. She was very, very interesting, I thought.
Yes. So if you're actually looking for a team, you definitely need to listen to this one. I think she goes into what she looks for and the type, and that even if that's not the team for you, but it'll let you know what you should be asking when you're looking for your team.
Yep, I agree. Welcome to Indy's Real Estate Gurus, your ultimate guide to the dynamic world of real estate in Indiana. And I'm Rick Ripma, your hardworking mortgage guy, and I've been in real estate and mortgages for over 24 years.
And I'm Ian Arnold, a loan officer on Rick's hardworking mortgage team, and we are both with Advisors Mortgage Group. Together, we'll empower you with expert advice, market trends, and successful stories from guru realtors and local experts.
Whether you're a homeowner, investor, or pro, join us as we navigate the thriving Indy real estate market.
Now get ready to unlock the doors of success, one episode at a time.
Today, I started it the same way every time, but I am excited today because we have Jenny Carrington. And you're a guru real estate agent. You've been doing this for a few years.
Yep.
You've done extremely well. In fact, you've done so well, they made you the office manager of Highgarden Real Estate on the South Side, Greenwood.
In Greenwood, yep.
Yes. And that's fairly new?
Yes, we've been open a little over a year now.
Okay. And you've been the manager for the whole time?
Yep.
Awesome. And I know you got some cool things going on there. But before we get into the things you have going on in there, let's start before real estate. Where'd you grow up? Where'd you go to school? And then from there, how did you get into real estate? And maybe why did you get into real estate?
Gotcha. So I'm actually an Indy-born native. I was born in Fort Wayne, but I don't remember anything about it because we moved when I was still a baby. So my hometown is actually Cincinnati, Ohio,
okay.
A little suburb within Cincinnati. We actually grew up right next to Kings Island. I think everyone knows where that is.
Yes.
Yeah. And so it was about 3 days before I started my senior year, we left Ohio and moved to Michigan because that's where all of my parents' family is from. So 3 days before senior year, I started a brand new adventure. So that was kind of exciting. And that's probably when I got real good at having conversations with total strangers.
Yeah.
So I kind of, my adulthood began in Michigan. And I actually worked the front desk of a hotel. That's where I met my husband.
Oh, wow.
We didn't start dating right away, but he had a real cute story because he walked over to the front desk, slammed his fist down on the desk, and he said, "You and I are going to have tall, beautiful children one day." And I said, "Okay." He was right. So a couple years later, we got married, and he had just graduated college, taking on his first job as a teacher, and we moved to Las Vegas.
Wow.
Yeah. So we lived out there for about 8 years, started our family, got married out there, bought our first house, and kind of set up roots out there. And because I was working in the hotel industry at the time, I had just kind of come up in that industry, starting again at the front desk at a hotel out there, moved to sales coordinator, to sales manager, to director of sales, to overseeing a team. So I just kind of worked my way up through the industry out there. And then once the boys, because we've got two kiddos, once the boys were becoming school age, we decided it was time to come back to like Midwest and raise the family here and
Yep.
just different environment. So we lived in Las Vegas for about almost 8 years. And about 8 years ago, we moved here.
And when you came back to Indy, or came to Indy, because you wasn't back to Indy, it was first time to be in Indy.
Since I was a baby.
Yeah. What was your job?
So I did end up taking another position with a hotel company here, being the director of sales over 3 hotels on the Northwest side. And it just wasn't quite a good fit. It's a very different industry here than it is in Las Vegas, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would think huge.
But I really didn't know what I wanted to do. So I decided to open an in-home licensed daycare.
Okay.
Because my youngest was still not school aged yet. And I wanted to be able to spend some time at home with him before he went to school and kind of figure all that out. So I opened a licensed in-home daycare, had some amazing families, incredible kiddos. But as my youngest got to be his school age, it was like, okay, I got to figure out something else because I don't want to do this forever. So it was actually our real estate agent that had introduced the idea of, well, you've done sales and you're very personable, I guess. You should maybe consider doing this. And so my husband and I both did it and got into real estate.
And so it's kind of interesting because all that you did beforehand led up to being successful at real estate.
It really did. I feel like I was super, super fortunate because of the companies that I worked for, especially in Las Vegas. I had been put through formal sales training, and just a lot of those experiences that I had out there really have a lot of crossover within our industry. So I felt really blessed that like I got a really good foundation to be able to do this career.
And I would guess that having an in-home licensed daycare gave you a good group of people to then work with
Sure.
for real estate, or to at least get referrals.
Yeah.
And did that work that way?
Honestly, I think what I learned more, absolutely. I mean, I'm still connected with several of the people that, had brought their kiddos to me, and I get to watch their kiddos grow up even after the fact, which is amazing. But I think more so what it taught me was to be an entrepreneur, to own my own business, because I think in real estate, it's not just about being a realtor and selling real estate. It's so much more. You have to be your own, marketing director. You have to be your own accountant. You have to, wear so many hats in doing real estate and really view it as a business to be successful in it. And so I think that I was able to kind of gain that experience on the other side of sales. Yeah,
it is. It's self-employed. No matter how people look at it, they're self-employed when they're a real estate agent.
Absolutely.
And you have to run a business.
Yep.
Right. And I think that's tough. I know for me, I get kind of tunnel vision, and I have to make sure that I get out of this role and I go to this role, take this hat off and do that. And I tend to want to stick in sales the whole time. That's what I enjoy, right? Don't like accounting. That's not me.
Yep.
But you have to.
When you get good at what you do, then you can outsource the things you don't like.
Exactly. Yes.
But you got to get there first.
Yeah, you do. And that's not always easy.
Right.
Yeah. So how did you get going right away? Because it's a tough business to get going. And you hadn't been here that long.
Right. Yeah, I didn't have a huge sphere.
Yeah, how did you do that?
So I think I started like most people do. I couldn't just pull the trigger and jump straight into real estate. Financially, we had to make it all make sense. And so I had given all of my families of the daycare about 6 months notice. And I said, I better make this happen in 6 months or I'm in trouble. And over those 6 months, I was still running the daycare for essentially 11.5-hour days with just, between prep, get ready, the baby's there, and then clean up and set up for the next day. And then the whole rest of the evening, it was, you better get your booty in gear and do some real estate. So I was making calls to everyone I knew, sending emails, taking as many leads as anyone would give me, and trying to pick up open houses and do showings on the weekends. So it was a grind for 6 months.
Yeah. And there's a lot of people who won't do that.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to work 11.5 hours and then go to work again in a different, especially when it's not a job that you have to go to.
Right.
That's just, you were self-motivated. You were, obviously had your goals, and that says a lot about you. I think that's a huge deal that you had that perseverance and you knew what you wanted and you did it.
Thank you.
That's awesome. Well, I've worked with lots of people, and I go by the hardworking mortgage guy. We're the hardworking mortgage team, right? And that's because that matters to me. I believe that's one of the tools to success. Yeah. And that's probably one of the things that helped you, along with your attitude and your work ethic and working smart and all the other things you got to do. But it's part of it, right?
Right.
Yeah. So now you got into real estate, and how did you, like, a lot of people get on a team. What did you do? How did you pick a place to go work?
Yes. So I didn't really do a whole lot of shopping when I started. It was our real estate agent that had helped us find and build a house here. And he was also a neighbor of ours that had, said, you should just come into real estate. I think you guys would be great at this. And so we ended up joining his team. And so for about the first 2 years, I was on a team, learned so much. I started with FC Tucker, great foundation, awesome training. I had a lot of support, which was incredible. And after about 2.5 years, it was kind of like, okay, like, I feel like we're ready for the next step. I've always been a super driven person. I'm never quite satisfied. I always want to go for a little bit more. And what else can I do? And how else can I contribute? And so it was time to start talking about maybe we come off the team. And did that look like staying where we were or going somewhere else? And so we started having conversations, as you do. And that's how I found Highgarden. And I just was absolutely called to them. Every conversation I had, I wanted one more. Everyone I talked to, I wanted to talk to one more person.
So let me ask you, what about them drew you in?
So I had kind of this checklist of things that I knew I needed to have in order to be successful, because I'd done fairly well for myself the first couple of years in real estate, but and so I knew I had this sort of checklist of things that I wanted. And a lot of places were checking the boxes, It was the people, it was the culture and the atmosphere and the conversations that I was having, and truly feeling like I was being valued and heard, and that there was opportunity. And I didn't even know what that opportunity looked like yet at that point. Opening an office was not even part of the vision. So to feel like I had a voice within that brokerage, and to be so well received by them, and to feel like I was truly not just going to have the support of this, the checklist, the task items that I needed, but to truly kind of have that kinship with the people that I'd be working with, it was just an incredible feeling.
Now, you can check everything off.
Yeah.
But culture
Yeah.
matters.
It really does, especially for me. I know it's not going to be a driving force for everyone. Highgarden might not be the place for everyone, but I definitely think that if that's something that's important to you, I couldn't have asked for a better fit.
Well, I've spent a lot of time in business because I'm old, as Ian says. And I will tell you, I was never one who thought culture mattered. But as I look back, it's probably one of the most important things.
Yeah.
The places that, I'm not a jump ship type person. When I go somewhere, I work there a long time, right? I don't, and there were places I look back at and I thought, I don't know what I was thinking. Why was I still there?
Yeah.
The culture did not fit anymore. Yeah. I should have moved on.
Yep.
And then when you find the culture and the right place to be, and it's enjoyable, then, that's everything.
Yeah.
So, and like you said, there's no culture that's right for everybody.
Right.
But what is it now with, like, if somebody's listening and they're looking for a new home, mm-hmm. or maybe they're a new agent and they're looking, why would they talk to you? Why would they consider working with you?
Sure. That's a great question. I think that it really comes down to Highgarden is so well-rounded. We really do have like I said, they checked all the boxes. So all of the resources that I was going to need, they provide leads. They have a client management database system. They have an astounding amount of technology available for us to be able to use to simplify our business. The support, there are so many. We have 3 owners, Chris, Brian, and Steve, and I swear to you can go knock on their door and say, I need help. And they'll say, come in and sit down. To have that kind of accessibility to our ownership is incredible. And in addition to that, we have so many other people that have such big supporting roles, and that anybody would be willing to sit down and talk. Throw a dart at any one of our agents and they'd be willing to take a phone call and say, yeah, I can help you. And that's the kind of culture that we're creating. We're particular about who we bring on board because we want to protect that ecosystem.
Yeah. Now, do you have teams? So if somebody wants to be on a team, there's teams available. There's a lot of options there.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's a lot of flexibility in how people want to grow. So we've got tons of independent agents. We also have several really successful teams.
Yeah. I would, if I were getting into real estate, I would want to be on a team to start. to me, it makes total sense. I want to be on a team with a good culture in a good office where, like you said, everybody is willing to help.
Yeah.
I think that's vitally important for success.
I think that's what's so amazing about Highgarden is because I totally hear you. And I started the same way, thinking that mentality of like, this is like a safety net for me. I think what's so awesome about Highgarden is that you can do it and you can do it independently because you'll never fail to have that support because of all of the different people that you have to reach out to. So like me in the Greenwood office, I'm always accessible to my agents, but I'm also doing one-on-one coaching with at least 7 of them right now because that's what they need.
Right. Well, coaching is invaluable.
Yeah.
So let me ask this. So we all know what a real estate agent does, and,
Yeah.
or basically most
everybody
people,
knows.
not everybody,
Sure
but
that's true.
we watch HGTV. That's totally correct. No,
100% accurate.
we'll get into more of that later. But what does an office manager actually do?
Yeah. Oh, hey, good question. So I still do real estate, but I've scaled it back. It's much more about working with my past clients, referrals that they give me, referrals that my partnerships give me, because I want to make sure that I have enough time to be able to create these opportunities and coaching and stuff for the agents in my office. So a lot of what I do is right now is a lot of coaching. It's kind of the beginning of the year. So we always kind of kick off with that. But I also try and create a lot of team building activities and a lot of training opportunities for our agents on the South Side. So we have tons of training at the corporate office, but I also want to make that accessible to all of my agents that are down down in Greenwood and Franklin and Bargersville and everything as well. So it's, creating these opportunities. We're going to go do a scavenger hunt with essentially a builder crawl. We're going to do a filming B-roll day. So it's not just stuff that happens in our office. Like we like to be out and about and help create those connections with affiliates and partnerships too, because that's just as important.
Yeah, it's vitally important. And like a builder, I spent 11 years with a new home builder, and that is to me, that connection between real estate agent and builder is vital.
Yeah.
For both sides.
Yeah.
But a real estate agent who understands how the builder works and understands that process. Biggest problem we'd run into, not really a problem, but the agents would have, some of them, is it takes 6 months or 8 months to close. Mm-hmm. But once they understand the process and they get it and they start doing some, it actually that most people like it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So it's a good way to keep, for the right client.
Yeah.
It's a great option.
And that's exactly what it is making sure that we as the agents understand the different options that are available so that we have, this arsenal of things that we can present to our clients. It's all about what's a right fit for them.
Right.
So
if there's anybody listening that maybe they want to talk to you about becoming a real estate agent or maybe coming to your team, or maybe they're looking to buy or sell a house, what would be the best way to get a hold of you?
Text me.
Okay. And what's the best number?
Yep. 317-557-6244. Just text me and say, hey.
Okay.
And
that number is 317-557-6244.
Yep.
Perfect. And to get a hold of Ian or I, go to hardworkingmortgageguys.com. That's hardworkingmortgageguys.com. Or you can call us at 317-672-1938. It's 317-672-1938.
All right. So we're going to take a side step from real estate. Okay. Let's get to know you a little bit more. So what do you do for fun?
Spend time outside. I really love just being in nature, doing anything outside, whether it's playing basketball with the boys, or I especially love hiking, kayaking. I went whitewater rafting twice. The first time was literally the best day of my life. The second time was the worst. I almost died.
Whoa.
Legitimately.
Let's go more into this because I love whitewater rafting. So how did you almost die?
So my husband and I the year before had gone to do whitewater rafting with an outfitter on the upper and lower Gauley River. And it was incredible. The weather was beautiful. It was, just the first day on the lower was intense, but nothing too big. The second day was incredible. We hit this big rock named Pillar and we just slid down, and it was like, all of us are high-fiving paddles, and it was like the coolest moment. We were the only ones not to capsize or lose anyone on that day. So our guide won a buck from everybody else, which was cool. It was such an amazing experience. We had camped. being in nature. And again, the weather was just beautiful. So we decided we should do this again, but we should take some friends with us. So we had some friends come down from another state, drove with us. The whole time it rained. And so as we're going down the lower, this is day one, we're going down the lower gully. And I just remember we're about to hit the last class 4 rapid, which is the highest you can do on a commercial outfitter. We're about to hit the last class 4 rapid. And I remember turning around to the guide and I said, this just feels so much more intimidating than it did last year. And I'm not sure why. And he goes, well, yeah, there's and he spouts off some number, 20,000 cubic tons more water pumping into every inlet in the river because of Hurricane Ian.
Oh.
So it's like, oh, okay. And then we turn around and we start paddling and, before you get to each one, they'll kind of tell you, this is what it's called. This is, I forget the name of it, but he said, and underneath there's a pocket called the Devil's Hands. So if you fall out, you're going to swim hard and to the left. You've got to stay out of that pocket because basically it's just an underwater cavern. There's nothing there. You'll get trapped. So of course, as we're going, we flip and I pop out on the wrong side. So my husband fell out. He ended up staying on the correct side and just floated downstream. It was still a rough ride for him, but he stayed on the correct side. Everyone else managed to stay in, and I went under the raft and popped up on the wrong side. So by the time I kind of got to the top of the water, I realized I'm about to hit a rock, and all I can do is kind of brace for impact. And then I hit the rock, spun around, got caught on a tree that was essentially a fallen branch underwater, and I'm holding on, trying to ride this fallen limb for my life because I can see the Devil's Hands right in front of me, and I know if I let go, I'm going under, and that's it. Unfortunately, no one could get to me, and I probably rode the branch for about 5 minutes and couldn't hold on anymore because the waves are just lapping over you. So I ended up down in the pocket. And I just kind of remember having this moment. It was very serene, which was weird. I just had this moment of this is how I go. But of course, your survival instinct kind of takes over. So I'm okay, if I could claw my way across the bottom of the riverbed, maybe I could get hold of tree roots or something and pull myself. And I don't know. Honestly, it was by the grace of God that I made it out. So all I remember is kind of clawing my way, but I'd been under for several minutes at this point. So I'd never lost consciousness, but I'm starting to lose it. And all of a sudden I see light. So I just start digging my way for whatever that light is. And I popped out on the other side. So somewhere in that pocket underneath, there was a hole. And so I slipped out on the other side and I came up and a rescue kayaker fished me out of the water and I jacked my knee up pretty good. So they kind of gave me the option of, sorry, this is a really long story.
You're good.
They kind of gave me the option of, we can either airlift you out of here because my knee was jacked up, or we can put you back in the raft, ride you princess is what they call it, where they just set you in the middle. And we have one more rapid to go that was a class 3. So if they had airlifted me out, it would have taken hours. And I'm how expensive is that going to be? No, thank you. Just put me in the middle and let's go. So they put me in Princess. We rode the last rapid and then the bus drove me right to the hospital.
That's an awesome story. I don't care what anybody says.
But made it. I was back at work on Monday.
So I think that one of the best things was it was a loose limb, because you hear about those guys that the trees that have fallen in, you get trapped underneath them. Yeah. And that's how a lot of people end up going.
Yeah.
So that loose limb was great that it was there. You might not have hold on too much, but at least it was loose.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Unfortunately, I heard about 3 days later, someone else did not make it out. So, you realize these things that we do and we think we're invincible, you're not. But also I just kind of took away from it. I don't know that I'll ever go whitewater rafting again, but I also don't want to be afraid to just continue to live life. I've always been an adventurer and I still want to try new things, and it's not going to stop me.
Yep. Well, I know I don't want to do something that when somebody tells me about the story, they say, our guide got $1 from all the other rafts because we were the only one who didn't lose anybody.
No, she said flip, not lose.
She said lose. No, she said lose.
No, she said flip.
I have it on
tape.
tape.
We're the only one not to flip over or dump anyone in the water.
Yeah, so I don't think I'm going to go. 5 of the 6 boats lost somebody. I'm not doing that.
It's actually very common when you're whitewater rafting that someone gets chucked from the raft. It happens all the time.
Yeah.
That's normal.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like a lot of fun to me. I think
Now
I'll
that I've
be.
successfully talked Rick out of ever whitewater rafting.
It's no offense. So Rick's family, they're obsessed with birds. So their idea is just going around with binoculars, looking at random birds in the sky. So
I can get down with that too.
Yeah, he's underselling it a little bit. Yeah, first, I'm not a birder. Okay. Second, my oldest son owns a bird tour company. They take people all over the world birding. My middle son is one of his guides. So they both just got back, one from South America, one from Central America. My oldest one just not too long, like a month ago, was in, where was it? Korea or Vietnam. He's in Vietnam and over there. I mean, they're all over the place. It's not
just like bird watching from your backyard.
No. Which also is not all that, comforting to go flying all over the world with all the world's strife. But
no kidding.
Yeah. But they make sure they're safe. But yeah, but whitewater rafting sounds fun. But I will observe it from the shore. Maybe just
a gentle kayak would be fine.
Yeah. And I'm actually a good swimmer. I used to swim 2 miles a day. Yeah. So I'm a good swimmer.
What's funny is I pride myself on I've grew up in pools and ponds, and so I've always been a strong swimmer, and you have a life jacket and you have a helmet, and man, when you're against a class 4 rapid, it just don't matter.
I know that is my point right there. Yeah. I agree. Yeah. That's not, but what else do you do outdoors? Cause I know you like to hike.
I love to hike. So Eagle Trace is definitely a place I go. Just a lot of the little local parks on the south side too. So any, time there's something new that's opened up, I like to check it out just to.
Isn't it awesome to go and just it doesn't even have to be a long hike. Go take half an hour, 45 minutes and be in nature. Yeah. It changes your day.
It really does. Yeah. I try and spend some time in the sunshine every day because it makes me happy.
Yeah. That is true. I realized as I said that, so does whitewater rafting. It changed her day.
Yes.
Hey, I still learned something valuable from it, right? Yes. We persevere, we keep going. So it's okay.
Hey, you're a survivor. That's what I learned. Right. No matter what your kids put you through, you can survive.
That's so true. Although, rapids, kids, sometimes I think I don't know rapids.
Yeah. Later on, you won't. I just tell you.
They're great. They're great, really.
When they're moved out and they're gone, then you need to enjoy them.
They don't miss them.
All right, Rick.
You're going to let me say
your favorite question? Yep.
All right.
Ruh-roh.
So what would you say is your superpower or superpowers as it relates to real estate?
I think it's 2 things, really. Being a good educator and having empathy. I think that it's really easy for us to just barrel through and do the job. And we kind of forget that this is a very emotional experience for a lot of our clients. Not everyone. Obviously, there's investors that are like, this is old hat. We do it every day. No big deal. And that's cool. But a lot of those, especially first-time home buyers or people that are making big milestone moves, sometimes for good reasons, sometimes for bad reasons, that this can be a really emotional experience. And so it's a fine balance between making sure your clients are educated and they know what they need to know to get through this, but also being able to be that rock, that steadfast for them because it's an emotional experience. Being able to empathize what they're going through, whether, again, happy, sad, there's lots of emotions, and barriers that we tend to run into, and that can feel like upsets, right? And being able to kind of help navigate them through it, to empathize, but also don't jump on the emotional bandwagon with them.
Yeah, you have to stay out of it.
You do.
But you have to
But you also have to show empathy because otherwise they're going to feel like you're just a robot and you're just out for your commission check. And man, oh man, if you're in it for that reason, you're not for me.
And it can be tough too, because we do our jobs and after years, it just becomes what we do.
Yeah.
But we work with people.
Yeah.
And ultimately that's our job.
Yeah.
Right. That's what we do.
This is people's livelihoods that we're talking about. This is not a little decision.
No, it's huge.
Yeah. I mean, and for the most, I don't know what I know it's a high percent, but that's what you guys do is what people invest most of their money into their whole entire life.
Exactly.
It's the hugest investment they'll ever make.
Exactly.
So it is, when we see the people and they are crying or whatnot after signing or it's a huge deal.
It is.
Now, when you've done 400 or 500 of them, you're like, oh, this is nothing, blah, blah, blah. But to that person, they could be the first one in their home or their household that has ever bought a home.
Yeah.
So
what's funny is I don't think I will ever get over that reaction. You know, for as many closings as I've done, I'm in my, just started my 6th year of real estate now. And for as many closings as I've had, I don't know that I will ever let go of how good that feels and how humbling it is to be able to help someone satisfy that dream.
Yeah, I would say that that's one of the things that separates the top people, is that's the way they feel.
Yeah.
You know, they aren't going to let it change anything.
Yep.
So if somebody's listening to this and they want to be part of that, they want that excitement, what's the best way they can get a hold of you?
I'm telling you, text me. It's honestly, I'm on everything. I've got Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. You can DM me on any one of those. You can email me. You can jump right on my website, www.callthecarringtons.com, and reach out that way. But text is going to be the fastest way you'll get a response. So.
All right. And Rick, how do they get hold of us?
Go to hardworkingmortgageguys.com. That's hardworkingmortgageguys.com, or you can give us a call. No text, just call 317-672-1938. It's 317-672-1938. Almost forgot it.
No. All right. So you just said something. You said Carringtons.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but you are one person.
Yes, I am.
Let's talk about this S that you added to it.
There's another one. My partner in crime, my husband, Joe, actually does real estate with me. He's a full-time teacher. So he just does real estate part-time. So he does, he's got friends and several different, colleagues and stuff that he'll help out through the year. But for the most part, he's kind of my helper, my runner. He does showings for me and open houses, and he'll, like I said, he'll do his own transactions with some of his friends and colleagues in his sphere of people. But for the most part, he's my helper, and he's incredible, and he's a saint.
So I'm surprised you haven't told him, all right, it's time to get out of that. I'm going to go do this full time.
Hey, if he wants to, he can. I think he likes the comforts of, being a teacher. He really enjoys teaching, honestly. And that's why I say he's a saint. He teaches, middle schoolers, and for as much teaching as I do coaching, they're adults. And I thoroughly enjoy that. I don't think I could do what he does.
Yeah. What you said, middle school kids aren't listening too well.
No, but he's got a good connection with them. So I think he enjoys it.
That's awesome.
They probably listen to somebody like him who knows how they it.
Yeah.
They would never listen to me because it would just drive me crazy. I couldn't do it.
You'd be the permanent sub there.
I don't think they'd let me do that either, just so you know.
All right. So we're going to get into the question of the week. So what was your first car?
What was my first car?
Yep.
Oh gosh. It was a Pontiac Grand Am SE, a little 2-door, bright cherry red. I shared the car with my mom.
Did you ever let her drive it?
She not too much. I definitely had it more than she did, but it was nice of her because they helped me with the expense of everything because we shared the car. Yep. But for the most part,
let me guess, you only gave it back to her when they needed gas. Oh, Mom, you need to go to the grocery store here.
Right. Oh no, I loved that car. It definitely took me on some adventures. I went a lot of concert going that year, so we drove to down to Cincinnati, to Peoria, Illinois, to Indianapolis. Wow. Yeah. The car saw a lot of concerts.
That's a great car too for a first car.
It is. Yeah.
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 What year? Do you remember what year it was?
I think it was a 99.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. They were great cars. I started in car sales many years ago, and I sold Pontiacs. And so Pontiacs always held a little soft spot in my heart for them until they got rid of the brand. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I love Pontiacs.
Yeah, I don't know why I picked that car. It was something about the paneling on the side that it was like those deep ridges. Yep. And I thought that looked so cool. Like, that's not even a cool car at all. But
yeah, but your first car is usually not, let's say, a Lamborghini or something really cool.
Yeah.
Your first car is cool to you because it gives you the freedom to go do stuff.
That is so true.
So let's be honest. Most times kids are happy with anything. As long as it starts and runs.
Yes.
And most people have fond memories, no matter how bad the car was.
Yeah.
Like not the first car. Well, the first car that I drove with, my parents' car was I hate even to say it, it was a Gremlin. And,
nice.
But you still have a little, there's a soft spot I'm a car person, if you can't tell. All the time.
I see that.
I'm a car person. And it still holds a soft spot. I'll still go look. I wouldn't buy one because I'd be embarrassed, but they do. And that worse than that, the next car was a Pacer, and that was an ugly car.
Yeah. He doesn't choose good cars.
No. That was not me. When I chose, my first car I chose was a Jeep. Everybody loves Jeeps.
Yeah.
The second one I chose was a Corvette. Third one I chose was a Corvette. I do a good job.
I think what's funny is I'm probably the only one in my family that didn't get that gene because my parents owned an automotive paint shop in Michigan. That was like the last thing that they had done.
Yeah.
My dad knows how to restore cars. He actually just took a really old Honda Pilot that was his like beat up car and he restored the whole thing, painted it and everything.
Wow.
He's working on a truck right now in Michigan. Him and my brother's first car actually was a cool car. It was, I think, a 93 Camaro that they painted canary yellow with black stripe. And it was awesome that they had built from nothing, the body up, which was really cool. My papa worked for GM and he's got a 50, I think it's a 54 Chevy that he restored that's cobalt blue. Like
Awesome. Yeah.
I'm probably the only one that's not cool about cars.
Wow. I just love cars, and your family has a lot of cars.
Definitely.
Yeah, a lot of car.
Yeah,
cars
my
and
husband.
blood.
Yeah, my husband's actually restoring a 78 Ford pickup right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's in pieces in the garage.
See, my wife. That's
How long has he been restoring it?
Let's see. He bought it almost a year ago.
Oh, okay. So it's not too bad.
No,
yet.
no, we're not there yet.
well. There's a lot of people who restore cars, and there's a lot of people who start to restore cars who never get it done.
Yeah,
But you have a family that sounds like they can make it happen.
yeah, for sure.
Like I would never take on that challenge because I know myself. If I can't get it done in an hour, I'm probably not going to, do it. Right. I don't have the patience for that. I can't even.
Rick, don't you know it's all about the long game?
I know.
You're in mortgage.
It would even be hard for me to buy a car and give it to somebody to fix up and it'd take a year and a half. That would drive me crazy. Couldn't do it. But I don't look at it the same with mortgages. That's probably why.
It's what you're passionate about, right?
Yes. And new home sales was a problem because it took 6 months to build a daggone house. But I didn't mind that either. That was different. So anyway, that's how it runs, right?
Yep. All right. So I would like to ask my question. So if you haven't noticed, we like to hear stories. So I want to hear a good one. With good or bad, most interesting transaction you've had.
Oh gosh. I feel like I always have had either like I always get one really easy transaction and the rest of them are always, we'll just say challenging, but in a good way because I always end up learning something. This was my easy one for the year, ultimately. But it was really cool. The first house I ever sold ended up being about a $500,000 house. I lucked out. It was a beautiful home in Bargersville. I went a couple of years later with that client and helped them sell it. And they only moved like one neighborhood over. So that was kind of cool. But the gal that was the buyer's agent on that house, as we're kind of talking and I'm just, I've been in real estate a couple of years now. And as I'm talking to her, I'm starting to realize I don't know that she's ever done a transaction before. And that's okay. That's okay.
Right.
I just felt compelled to kind of outright ask. I said, is this your first transaction? And she says, yes, it is. And I said, you know what? We're going to get through this together. And it's going to be a beautiful transaction. We're going to have so much fun doing this. This was my first house and now it's going to be yours. And I just felt like it was this like passing of the torch moment. And she was a wonderful agent, great agent to work with. I actually just had coffee with her a few months back. So we've kept in touch. And I just think that that's so cool to be able to see the growth within our industry. So I don't know that that's like a great story, but it's really special.
No, it's
to
a
me.
great story.
Yeah. Well, one, it shows that realtors aren't always out there just for themselves.
Yeah.
I mean, look, you have to work with other realtors constantly.
Yeah.
So if you treat somebody right, it comes back and they'll treat you right and stuff like that. Rick likes to call it the bulldog realtor. It's not always the best realtor.
Yeah.
Yeah. I usually use that with attorneys.
Yeah.
I work with a lot of attorneys, and most of them are divorce attorneys. And so they tell me, because I always thought the best divorce attorney, if you want one, if you had to get divorced, you'd want the toughest, meanest. They said, no, that's the worst kind you can possibly get. It creates more problems.
Right.
You want somebody who's going to, like a real estate agent, you want a real estate agent who can listen to you, have compassion, have the empathy, but can keep their own personal out of it and not get, when something happens, which it can happen in a real estate transaction, you got to have somebody who's going to keep their head.
Yeah.
Right. And going to help you walk through it so that you see it correctly, because you're going to be emotional as a customer.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
And it can be little things. I've had agents say, oh yeah, the outlet was bad. And they were just like ready to walk away from a deal. Right. And it's just like, that's not.
But it all feels big to them.
Yes. And so but you have to understand that, and you do. You understand what they go through.
Yeah. And I think that's part of that education process too, is kind of helping your client set expectations of the things that they're going to come up against. That way it doesn't feel like they've been completely blindsided, because you're right. Things do and probably will come up throughout that transaction. Yeah.
So. And now I'm going to change subjects a little bit, because there was something I read that I thought I really wanted to hear more about. And that is you're doing something with your video training, some innovative. Yeah. Can you talk about that?
I can't, a little bit. Yeah. So it's all still in development right now. It's just that I've been doing a lot of research on social media in general, and I've started teaching a social media course. I digress, this is kind of sidestep, but, as I'm doing that research, I've learned that about 70% of people consume their social media via video. And so, and just kind of looking back at like, where's the easiest place I go to get answers? Well, I tend to Google it, and it takes me to a YouTube video, and I watch that and stuff. And so we've already had lots of training available via video. So that's not a new concept by any means for Highgarden, but the platform in which we're going to use makes it much more interactive. And I think that that's going to be very helpful, very appreciated by the agents, but also by our leadership, because it frees them up for more of that one-on-one coaching, more hearty time with the agents, because so many of those things just get repetitive. And so be able to, have more training videos available, have them be interactive, have them link right to the resources that they're going to need. And to be able to kind of send them that and then say, okay, and then what other questions do you have, to be able to do more of that one-on-one coaching. And that's going to get us diving in deeper with them faster. So it's just starting its development phase. It's going to be a little bit before it's out, but we're really excited about it.
It's amazing. Yeah, sorry.
Go ahead.
It's amazing how, it matters to have it organized like you're talking about. I have a program that I pay for, and they do great training.
Yeah.
But the training they put out, okay, if I miss the training, there's a video.
Yeah.
It doesn't tell you what the video is about. It doesn't tell you, there's nothing. And it's like, and his videos are an hour and 15, hour and 20 minutes.
Yeah.
It's like,
no,
you don't tell us anything.
Yeah.
And then I also think another piece of that is you're putting them on YouTube, it sounds like, or some place where
platform for agents,
they can go get it.
Yeah.
Okay. They want to put all theirs on. This is something I find a lot of companies are doing now. You have to join their Facebook special, and then that's where you can get all the videos. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm sorry, I don't spend that much time on Facebook.
Yeah.
And so it's really, I miss so much because it's not on their training where I go for my training. And it just drives me crazy. Yes. So it sounds like you're doing it really the right way, where you're going to know what it is and what you're
Exactly.
What you're going to learn.
And as you said, not hour something long videos, to really manageable small chunks. So it's very directed topical content.
Yeah. And it could be an hour and a half long, but you better have chapters.
To be, but we can try and avoid that. Because the thing is that you can only receive so much information at one time.
Yes. It better have chapters, and it better have, so I can go to where I need.
And pause.
Where I need to learn.
Yeah. That's one of the things that I think it's brilliant. And I've been with other companies where you do trainings and stuff, and you do like little scenarios, and it's always nice to hear other people's things. So it's nice when you were saying that, you got the video, but then we can talk about it. Yeah. Because let's be honest, I might ask you a certain question as say you're looking at buying somebody's house, and you ask a question. Well, guess what? The answer is not always going to be the same.
Correct.
And not is everybody going to answer the same way. So it's easy. It's nice to have that rebuttal back and forth.
It's not meant to, by any means, none of these videos or this training series, none of this replaces that one-on-one coaching or time with your leadership or time with your agents. That's all still just as important. But what it'll do is alleviate time so that, those coaches and leadership and agents will be able to get into the heart of those things, because they'll have watched the 3-minute video instead of listened to a whole long training only to pull that much from it.
And then if you were to take one of your trainees and say, hey, every day just watch one of those 3-minute videos.
Yeah.
it's not hard to watch a 3-minute video.
Right.
And then you can think about it. You may be like golden on it.
Yeah.
But you never know when that one little instance going to pop in. You're like, I'm glad I watched that.
Exactly. Well, and to have a reference to go back to. I mean, so many times I try and be available for my agents as many hours as I can be. So yeah, I'm still taking calls at 10, 11 o'clock at night sometimes. If they need me, they need me. But to be able to have this sort of catalog to go back to that might answer their question first and to make it very easy and searchable, that it might answer their question first, might get them what they need quicker to be able to serve their clients.
Yep. Plus it gives them, if you watch it, it also can bring up, oh, I need to know this, that. And so if you have coaching and things like that, you can bring it up to your coach where you may not have even thought of it.
Yes, precisely.
Yeah. So is there anything that you look at and you say, man, I wish somebody had told me that when I was brand new?
Yeah. You can't come into this half-hearted. Treat it like a business. And it's very overwhelming to become an agent at first because you go through the course and you realize all the things all of a sudden you don't know. And so you need to learn to be a real estate agent, but then you also need to learn to be a business owner, and you also need to learn how to create your systems. That's so important to have your systems in place because all of that sets you up for the longevity and success in the industry. And so if you're not starting on those things kind of right up front and you're not devoting the time to that, then you're already a little bit behind some of those other agents.
Yeah, you got to work on your business.
Yeah.
Just like when you work in your business.
That's right. We say that all the time.
Got to do both.
Yep.
Yeah. And it's not always easy to remember that.
Exactly.
So I want to help you work on your business. So somebody's out there and they're listening to this and they basically been listening to you for 45 minutes and they're like, I have to work with her and her team. Mainly, I want her husband to show me the house because he's a great teacher. What's the best way they get in touch with you guys?
Yeah, I would say to just either call or text me. My cell phone number, I keep it on me all the time. I'm pretty quick to answer. And if I can, I'll shoot you a text and let you know that I'll call you back within a certain amount of time. But call or text at 317-557-6244.
Okay, now I'm going to repeat it because I want to make sure I remember it. So it's 317-557-6244.
That's it.
6244. I like that. That's easy. Yeah.
It's the other part. The 577 is really hard. Oh my goodness.
Well,
just drifts off the tongue.
Yeah, it's so funny though, because when I see that 6244, here's what in my head, I go, okay, you take 2 from the 6 and you got 4444. I don't know why. That's how I see it.
But we're math people. And
that's probably it. Or we're just crazy.
Yep.
And to get a hold of Ian or I, go to hardworkingmortgageguys.com. That's hardworkingmortgageguys.com. Or you can give us a call at 317-672-1938. It's 317-672-1938. And please follow us for more Indy's Real Estate Gurus.
A reminder, if you have any friends, family, or coworkers looking to buy, sell, refinance, let us know. We'll be more than happy to help you. Hey, thank you for joining us. It was a pleasure having you on, and your team is growing. I can't wait to see in the next 4 or 5 years what it looks like.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for having me on today. It was such a pleasure.
Branch NMLS number 33041. Rick Ripma's NMLS number 6645889. Ian Arnold's NMLS number is 1995469. Equal housing opportunity. Some restrictions apply.